Good evening, everyone. I am Nicholas Toppin. Joining me tonight is the book, the remastered full color edition, House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewski. There you go, that's a mouthful. Lovely cover, big thick book, quite the commitment when I was picking it up yesterday at the bookstore called Book Soup on Sunset Boulevard, just west of Sunset Plaza. So I have no idea what this is about, but I understand it is a novella. It's very popular, the lady in the store was telling me. So we're going to start off at chapter 1. I'm going to read that and we'll go from there. Sit back, relax, and enjoy what we both learn in the following pages. 1. I saw a film today. Oh boy. The Beatles. While enthusiasts and decoratants will continue to empty entire dictionaries attempting to describe or deride it, authenticity still remains the word most likely to stir a debate. In fact, this leading obsession to validate and invalidate the reels and tapes invariably brings up a collateral and more general concern, whether or not the advent of digital technology, image has forsaken its once impeachable hold on the truth. For the most part, skeptics call the whole effort a hoax, but grudgingly admit the Nevadason record is a hoax of exceptional quality. Unfortunately, out of those who accept its validity, many tend to swear allegiance to the tabloid UFO sightings. Clearly, it is not easy to appear credible when, after vouching for the film's veridity, the disclosure suddenly switches to why Elvis is still alive and probably withering in the floor of the Keys. One thing remains certain. Any controversy surrounding Bill Mayer's film on flying saucers has been supplanted by the house on Ash Tree Lane. Though many continue to devote substantial time and energy to the anonymities of the fact or fiction, representation or artifact, document or prank, as of late, the more interesting material dwells exclusively on the interpretation of events within the film. This direction seems more promising, even if the house itself, like Melville's behemoth, remains resistant to summation. Much like the subject, the Nevadason record itself is also uneasily contained, whether by category or lectation. If finally catalogued as a Gothic tale, contemporary urban folk myth, or merely a ghost story, as some have called it, the documentary will still, sooner or later, slip the limits of any one of those genres. Too many important things in the Nevadason records jut out past the borders, where one might expect horror or supernatural. Where one might expect horror or supernatural, or traditional paroxysms of dread and fear, one discovers disturbing sadness, a sequence on radioactive isotopes, or even laughter over a Simpsons episode. In 17th century England's greatest topograph of worlds, satanic and divine, warned that hell was nothing less than regions of sorrow, doleful shades where peace and rest can never dwell. Hope comes that comes to all, thus echoing the words copied down by hell's most famous tourist, Danzig. Wow, hang on. Here we go. Danzig, a me non for cos curate, se non etere oti. Okay, so these are all different languages. That must have been fun to listen to in my Irish accent attempt. Even today, many people still feel the Navidison, that's how I'm going to pronounce it from now on, all right? Even today, many people still feel the Navidison record, in spite of all its existential refinements and contemporary allusions, continue to reflect those exact sentiments. In fact, the few eager intellectuals have already begun to treat the film as a warning in itself, in and of itself, perfectly suited for hanging whole above the gate of such schools of architectonics, Pompeo, consensualism, neoplasticism, phenomenology, information theory, Marxism, biomechanics, to say nothing of psychology, medicine, New Age spirituality, art, or even neo-minimalism. Will Davison, however, remains stalwart in his insistence that this documentary should be taken literally. As he himself says, all this doesn't take it as anything else but this. And if one day you find yourself passing by that house, don't stop, don't slow down, just keep going. There's nothing there, beware. Considering how the film ends, it is not surprising that more than a handful of people have decided to heed his advice. We're having so much fun. This is a lot of fun. This is fantastic. Oh, thank God. Here we go. The Davison record did not first appear as it does today. Nearly 7 years ago, what surfaced was the 5.5 minute hallway, a 5.5 minute optical illusion, barely exceeding the abilities of any NYU student, of any NYU film school graduate. The problem, of course, was the accompanying statement that claimed all of this was true. In one continuous shot, Davison, whom we never actually see, momentarily focuses on the doorway on the north wall of his living room, before clambering outside of the house through a window to the east of that door, where he trips slightly in the flower bed, redirects the camera from the ground to the exterior white clipboard, then moves right, crawling back inside the house through a second window, this time the west of that door, where we hear him grunt slightly as he knocks his head on the sill. Elating light laughter from those in the room, presumably Karen, his brother Tom, and his friend Billy Reston. Though, like Davison, they too never appear on camera, before finally returning to the starting point, thus completely circling the doorway, and so proving beyond the shadow of a doubt that insulation or siding is the only possible thing this doorway could ever lead to, which is when all laughter stops, as Davison's hand appears in the frame and pulls open the door, revealing a narrow black hallway at least 10 feet long, promoting Davison to reinvestigate, once again leading us on another circumambulation of this strange passageway, climbing in and out of the window, pointing the camera to where the hallway should extend, but finding nothing more than his own backyard. No 10 feet protrudence, just noise, bushes, and muddy, dark gun, and a translucent summer air. In essence, the existence and disbelief which, despite his best intentions, still takes Davison back inside to that impossible hallway, until, as the camera begins to move closer, threatening this time to actually enter it, Karen snaps, "Don't you dare go in there, Navy." To which Tom adds, "Yeah, not such a hot idea," thus arresting Davison at the threshold, though he still puts his hand inside, finally retracting and inspecting it, as if by seeing alone there might be something more real. Reston wanting to know if in fact his friend does not sense something different, and Davison providing the matter-of-fact answer, which also serves as the conclusion, however abrupt, to the bizarre short, "It's freezing in here." Dissemination of the 5.5-minute hallway seemed driven by curiosity alone. No one ever officially disputed it, and so it never appeared in film festivals or commercial film circles. Rather, VHS copies were passed around and by hand as a series of progressively degenerating dubs of a home video revealing a truly bizarre house with nobility, very few details about the owners or, for matter, the authorities of a piece. Less than a year later, another short surfaced. It was even more hotly sought after than the 5.5-minute hallway, and resulted in some fervent quests for Davison and the house itself, all of which, for one reason or another, failed. Unlike the first, the short was not continuous, promoting many to speculate that the 8-minute making up Exploration 4 were in fact bits of a much longer whole. The structure of Explanation number 4 is highly discontinuous, jarring, and as evidented by many poor edits, even hurried. The first shot catches Davison mid-phrase. He is tired, depressed, and pale. Days, I think. And I don't know. Drink something, unclear what. Actually, I'd like to burn it down. Can't think clearly enough to do it though. Laughs. And now this. The next shot jumps to Karen and Tom arguing over whether or not to go in after him. So we went in. At this point, it remains unclear to whom they are referring. There are several more shots. Trees in the winter, blood on the kitchen floor, one shot of a child, Daisy, crying. And then back to Davison. Nothing but this tape, which I've seen enough times. It's more like a memory than anything else. And I still don't know. Was he right or just out of his mind? Followed by 3 more shots, dark hallways, woodless rooms, stairs, then a voice. I'm lost. Out of food, low on water, no sense of direction. Oh God. The speaker is a bearded, broad-shouldered man with frantic eyes. He's speaking rapidly and appears short of breath. Holloway Roberts, born in Mellowbone, Wisconsin. Bachelor's from UMass. There's something here. It's following me. It's not stalking me. I've been stalked before. But for some reason, it's not attacking. It's waiting for something. I don't know what. Holloway Roberts, Memalone, Wisconsin. I'm not alone here. I'm not alone. Thus, bringing to an end this strange abstract, which, as the release of Nadezhev's record revealed, was sparingly incomplete. Then, for 2 years, nothing. Few clues about who any of these people were, though eventually a number of photographers in the news community did recognize the offer as none other than Will Davison, the prize-winning journalist, the prize-winning photojournalist who won a Pulitzer for his picture of a dying girl in Sudan. Unfortunately, this discovery only generated a few months of heated speculation before, in the absence of press corroboration, the location of the house, or, for the matter, any comment by Davison himself, interest died out. Most people just wrote it off as some kind of weird hoax because of the unusual conceit, an aberrant UFO sighting, unless the deteriorating dubs did circle, and in some trendy academic circles a debate began. Was the subject of a haunted house? What did Holloway mean by lost? How did anyone be lost in a house for days anyway? Furthermore, what was someone in the Davison's credentials doing creating 2 strange shorts like this? And again, was this artifacts or reality? Excuse my accents, I'm going all over the place here. Certainly a good deal of debate was sustained by a bit of old-fashioned culture elitism. People talked about the Davison pieces because they were just lucky enough to have seen them. Lee Sinclair suspects a majority of professors, students, Soho artists, and avant-garde filmmakers who spoke and even wrote so knowingly about the tapes, more than likely had never even viewed one frame. There just weren't that many copies available. While the 5.5-minute hallway and Exploration 4 have been, respectively, a teaser and a trailer, they are also afford a vast potential of examination. The one compression of space, the power of the imagination to decompress that space, the house as a trope for the unlimited, unknowable, except on a strictly visceral level, they provide ample shocks and curiosities. However, the most unnerving aspect about both pieces is their ability to convince us that everything really happened, some of which can be attributed to the verifiable elements, Holloway Roberts, Wilden Davison, et IAI, but most of which must be chalked up to the starkness of the production, the absence of the makeup, expensive soundtrack or cane shots. Except for framing, editing, and in some cases subtitles, there is virtually no room for creative intrusion. Who would have suspected that almost 3 years after the 5.5-minute hallway began appearing on VHX, Miramax would quietly release the Davison record in a limited run and almost immediately unsettle audiences everywhere? Excuse me. Since the opening 3 years ago, last April, in New York and Los Angeles, just say we live here, this is why I'm reading it to you from, when I can't pronounce the name. In Los Angeles, then a Davison record has been selected nationwide, and while hardly a blockbuster, the film continues to generate revenue as well as interest. Film periodicals frequently publish reviews, critics and letters. Books are devoted entirely to the Davison record now appear in some regularity. Numerous professors have made the Davison record required viewing for their seminars, while many universities already claim that dozens of students from a variety of departments have completed doctoral dissertations on the film. Comments and references frequently appear in Harper's, The New Yorker, Esquire, American Heritage, Vanity Fair, Spin, as well as on late-night television. Interest abroad is equally intense. Japan, France, and Norway all have responded with awards, but to this day, this spectral Davison has yet to appear, let alone accept any one of these. Even the glorious Weinstein brothers remain unusually reticent about the film and its creator. Interview magazine quoted Harvey Weinstein as saying, it is what it is. The Davison record now stands as part of the country's cultural experience, and yet in spite of what fact that hundreds of thousands of people have seen it, the film continues to remain an enigma. Some insist it must be true. Others believe it is a trick on par with the Orson Welles radio romp, The War of the Worlds. Others could care less, admitting that either way, the Davison record is a pretty good tale. Still, many more have never even heard of it. These days, with the unlikely prospect of any sort of post-release resolution or revaluation, Davison films seem destined to achieve most cult status. Good storytelling alone will guarantee a healthy sliver of popularity in the years to come, but its inherent strangeness will permanently bar it from the mainstream interest. Wow, that was lovely. That was the first chapter. Okay, tomorrow night will be number 2. Thank you so much. It was a really bad idea to wear such a heavy robe. It's roasting. I'm already sweating. Thank you very much. Be good. Thank you. This was our first video, new channel. Let's see where this goes. Okay, thank you.